Welcome back to the archives and, honestly, welcome home. Before we go anywhere, I want to say thank you. Genuinely. This channel found its feet because of you. Every like, every comment, every one of you who stuck around turned a little passion project into something real. So, from the bottom of the vault, thank you. Now, a bit of housekeeping. What you're about to watch is the complete Hell Park iceberg, both parts, stitched together into one full descent, from the warm and harmless waters right at the top, all the way down to the darkest thing buried at the very bottom. If you already saw the two videos separately, consider this the director's cut. If you're new here, you picked a good day. One heads up, the second half was put together a little differently, so partway through, you'll notice the voice change. Don't go adjusting your headphones, that one's on us, and it's completely intentional. And if you haven't yet, do hit that like button and subscribe before we start. It helps more than you'd think, and it means I get to keep digging things up down here. I always find something. Alright, let's begin the descent.
Hell Park is a fan fiction based on the adult animated series South Park. Created in 2019, it captivated readers and became the fandom's most successful work. Content continues to be created around this fanfic, with a massive and growing fan base. However, many remain unaware of the mysteries, controversies, and tragedies within this community. I assume you're familiar with the iceberg video format, starting from widely known facts and descending into obscure and dark territory. Since most viewers already know Hell Park's general plot, I'll skip those basics and explore darker elements unfamiliar to casual fans. If you haven't read Hell Park, I strongly recommend doing so before watching this iceberg. That said, I've structured this to remain engaging even for those less familiar with the story, so expect quality content throughout. Before continuing, I apologize for the I voice you'll hear. I'm from Mexico and don't feel comfortable speaking a language I haven't mastered, so I hope you'll understand. Creature Feaster. Creature Feaster is Hell Park's creator's online name. They also go by Wire or Doodle Stab. For convenience, we'll use Wire throughout this iceberg. They currently maintain an active Tumblr blog, though I'd advise against asking about Hell Park. Animations. The Extra Balls YouTube channel uploaded 3 extremely popular animations throughout 2019. You Messed Up, The Bridge, and Pip's Indifference. If you've spent even 5 seconds in the fandom, you'll know these 3 animations were responsible for Hell Park's massive popularity during 2019 and 2020. Doodles. Doodles are quick sketches often used as concept art or blueprints for more polished drawings. Hell Park featured numerous doodles and concept art that help us imagine what the story might have become. Mods. Hell Park's development was chaotic, involving both extremely talented, experienced artists and newcomers to projects of this scale. Few records of the AU's development exist, but we know it was absolutely chaotic, stressful, and filled with brainstorming sessions. Much of Hell Park's original concept became diluted as more mods joined. These mods were animators, often experienced, who supported Wire's development. Moderators like Nougats popularized ships such as Dip and Listella, whilst others like Ty introduced concepts like Pocket, though at the cost of much of Hell Park's original aesthetic. What do you think? Were the mods beneficial for Hell Park? Cancellation. Sadly, in May 2021, after a year's silence, the Tumblr blog where Hell Park was published announced the fanfic's complete cancellation, along with Wire's total withdrawal from the Hell Park fandom. Tumblr blogs. Tumblr was Hell Park's publishing platform, which was extremely popular at the time. Other Hell Park-related blogs also existed, which we'll discuss later in this iceberg. Bios. For veteran Hell Park fans like myself, there was a Discord server where development updates were posted. Some were simple doodles, whilst others were fascinating, such as character bios. These consisted of brief character descriptions and their role in the plot. Other interesting updates included artist bios, which displayed each character's size and color palette, created primarily for artists. I could spend all day showing you these bios, but you can easily find them with a Pinterest search. You've probably seen them already. Hellspeak. Hellspeak is the demon's language in Hell Park. If you're interested in using it, simply visit the website shown on screen and type whatever you wish. Ships. Shipping was present from day one of Hell Park's development. Various ships existed, including Dip, Stangery, Chromus, and Chime. Unfortunately, we couldn't see most of these ships in action due to Hell Park's sudden cancellation. However, other interesting ships exist, which we'll discuss later in this video. Ugly Gregory. Ugly Gregory is the silliest meme I've ever seen. Created from an image showing main antagonist Gregory looking absolutely dreadful, this meme is simply that. Ugly Gregory. Yet, it's gained enormous popularity thanks to... Honestly, I've no idea. Gregory is not a sexy man. Gregory is often viewed as a sexy man due to his behavior, dress sense, and the fact that most Hell Park fandom members are women who find Gregory attractive. Whilst not created as a sexy man, by today's internet culture standards, he certainly is. Color Quest. Color Quest is Wire's current project. It has nothing to do with Hell Park and is a completely original universe. I've read it in its entirety and honestly find it rather mediocre, but if you enjoyed Hell Park, you might appreciate Color Quest. Sonic and Bartleby. Stan and Gregory's relationship is heavily inspired by Sonic and Bartleby's relationship in the Sonic the Hedgehog animated series. Many mods confirmed they based Stan and Gregory's dynamic on this relationship, which is even referenced through Easter eggs in Hell Park. Lore. Hell Park's lore is extremely extensive and could have been even more so. If you're interested in Hell Park's lore, planned content, and general trivia, I'll leave a mod-created story summary in the description. If you want a video explanation, Peaks has an excellent video explaining the entire lore, though bear in mind it's in Spanish. If you'd like me to create a complete English summary, please like this video and share it with your friends so I can continue making content like this and bring you quality videos. Animatics. Like many of the previously mentioned doodles, several animatics were never finished due to the AU's unfortunate cancellation. However, you can find all Hell Park animatics on YouTube. Many are simply memes the mods created amongst themselves, whilst others contain lore we never got to see. Most were concepts, as Hell Park's development was chaotic, and these animatics were ideas exchanged amongst the team, but they remain interesting nonetheless. Cooking with Pip is a short comic set in the Hell Park universe. The plot is simple. Pip wants to cook something and invites a cast member to participate. Only one comic from this spin-off was made, but sketches and testimonies indicate Cooking with Pip would have had at least 2 more installments. Sadly, that's all we have left. Redesigns. During the hiatus between early 2020 and the sad cancellation announcement, several plans existed to redesign Hell Park's characters to differentiate the art style from that used in Color Quest. The designs utilized geometric shapes more effectively and attempted to distinguish characters from one another, unlike the art style used previously, which employed many practically identical models. This change, however, brought numerous criticisms both then and to this day, as the redesigns looked ugly and attempted to alter an already iconic art style. This was a key factor in Hell Park's cancellation. Fan art. Fan art describes art created by fans of a work. Hell Park enjoys immense quantities of fan art. For a time, practically every artist in the Hell Park fandom imitated its art style. Even today, 5 years after cancellation, finding Hell Park fan art isn't surprising, and it's usually high quality. Sexual orientations. Originally, Hell Park was intended as a story focused purely on Creek, the relationship between Tweak and Craig. Ironically, the creators would later be criticized for not including this ship. However, as more mods joined the project, particularly through Mod Ty's insistence, Creek was discarded, and various other ships were added to Hell Park, along with a sea of sexual orientations. On screen, you can see a list of each character's sexuality. This change, which some considered unnecessary, brought much controversy, which we'll discuss later in this iceberg. Hell Parkerai. Hell Parkerai was an attempted reimagining directed by the then leader of the Hell Park community, Peaks. This reimagining was the most ambitious continuation attempt seen to date and enjoyed great but fleeting popularity. The AU is currently cancelled due to numerous controversies surrounding the fanfic throughout its production. It's worth noting that most of these were debunked in the video shown on screen, whilst others were invented by the English-speaking YouTuber Altaris. Chromus and Creek controversy. Hell Park is a project riddled with controversies, and we haven't even touched the iceberg's tip regarding them. However, the probably largest controversy in the entire fandom is undoubtedly the Chromus/Creek dispute. During Hell Park's development, Creek was to be the story's main ship, and you can still notice in the comic's early chapters how Hell Park was heading in this direction. However, one of the AU's most drastic changes occurred when, in mid-2019, a mod whose identity was never revealed proposed the idea of shipping Kristoff with Tweak. This completely changed the story's direction and left many Creek fans extremely disappointed by the absence of this ship, so important not only in the fandom, but throughout South Park's history. The Creekists' reaction, combined with growing fandom toxicity, caused a cyber war between Creekists and Chromists to erupt. Ultimately, Chromus emerged victorious, but this fight was one of the main reasons for Hell Park's cancellation. Tweak is not here. Tweak Isn't Here was a spin-off comic released in late 2020. The story depicts how two entities play with Tweak's fate. The poor imp is sent to Earth, and no one notices his peculiar appearance due to it being Halloween. The story ends abruptly after a few panels. By dates, this was the last Hell Park comic created, as just a few months later, its cancellation was announced. Hell Park Rundown. Hell Park Rundown was a document created to summarize Hell Park's entire story up to that point. It was planned for use only by new mods who needed quick training on the fanfic's plot. It was made public around 2020 by the mod's decision and remains a very useful document for Hell Park fans today. Problematic elements. Hell Park's problematic elements vary depending on whom you ask, and many elements viewed as problematic turned out to be mere exaggerations. Whilst Hell Park has some criticism-worthy elements, many criticisms created at the time were exaggerations designed to damage the project's reputation. Some, like Tweak's attitude change or Thomas's tick elimination, are mere formalities explained within the story, and most people spreading this information were unaware of those reasons. On the other hand, there are other allegations that are real. We'll discuss them later. Gregory.gif. Gregory.gif is a 5-second GIF showing Gregory about to delete the blog. This GIF was the last AU update made in 2023. It came without warning, as the post announcing the AU's cancellation was published in 2021, leaving us with 2 years of waiting only for such a sad update. Many thought this would mean the blog's end, but to this day, January 2025, such a thing hasn't happened. Who Put the Dip? Who Put the Dip is an unofficial Hell Park animation created by moderator Nougats. This animation is a tribute to the dip ship present in Hell Park. Nougats is an enormous fan of this ship and made this animation set in the Hell Park universe to honour that fandom. Even today, the animation is very popular and enjoys semi-canonical status within Hell Park's story. Great Expectations. For those unaware, Great Expectations is a book published by Charles Dickens in the mid-19th century. The story follows a young man nicknamed Pip, seeking to become a gentleman, to propose marriage to the beautiful Estella Havisham. South Park creators Matt and Trey admitted to loathing this story, and even put Pip in South Park, just to make him suffer. Many characters appearing in the story were reused in Hell Park and given greater prominence. You can notice the similarities right now. Truth be told, I highly recommend the book. Clyde's Ballapalooza Extravaganza. Clyde's Ballapalooza Extravaganza was a fanfic released on January 20th, 2018 to Tumblr. It enjoyed moderate popularity during its publication period. The story follows young Clyde Donovan, who creates a Tumblr blog and faces numerous misadventures with his friends. The fanfic constitutes Wire's first professional work of this scale during their time in the South Park fandom. Much of Hell Park's original staff also worked on this AU, including Nougats and Pip. Remember that last name, as it will be extremely relevant later. Hell Park is ableist. The accusation that Hell Park is ableist was created in mid-2019, but popularized throughout 2021 and 2022. The accusation is based on Jimmy Valmer's early death in Hell Park's plot at Pip's hands. This death was caused by his friend's negligence in forgetting Jimmy's disability and abandoning him to his fate. This accusation, however, falls apart when considering that multiple other works present similar deaths without being treated as ableist. This is because, in many of these instances, such deaths are neither glorified nor exist for mere spectacle or shock value. Jimmy Valmer's death causes great guilt to the entire cast, and Jimmy is a constant tension point in the plot due to the protagonist's negligence. This doesn't count that Jimmy's corpse would later be possessed by Leslie Myers and constitute a new antagonist in the roster. You can criticize Hell Park for many things, but calling it ableist is completely false. Gary erasure. Tweak and Craig's sexualities were changed in this AU. This change has no real importance to the plot and was an error that cost the mods dearly, as later a wave of criticism reached the creators, who later apologized for the error and assumed full responsibility. Yes, this is what I meant when I said there were things to criticize in Hell Park. This change makes absolutely no sense in the plot and was one of the biggest controversies caused in the entire fandom. In my view, it could easily have been avoided. Satan on Hell Park. During South Park's 10th season, Satan is taken to heaven to be received as an angel after his heroic sacrifice at the season's end. This, in Hell Park's universe, brought about Damien's ascension as king of the underworld and, more importantly, Satan's absence from Hell Park. Several plans existed for Satan in Hell Park, such as his resurrection and participation in the story. This famous panel is actually an illustration representing Satan's return to Earth, now as a benevolent and charismatic figure. There isn't much information about it, but his inclusion is interesting, all things considered. Easter eggs. Various Easter eggs exist in Hell Park. Some are well known, like the inclusion of Sonic and Bartleby, references to the original series, and references to Wire's other projects. Others are more obscure, like Pocket's presence in backgrounds. I've no idea how he got there, but it's interesting. Other Easter eggs appear in unfinished animations and bring very period-specific humor. Overall, Hell Park is filled with interesting Easter eggs that might make you revisit the story again and again and still find interesting things. Mod Pip. Finally, we reach this first part's end, leaving the most curious and controversial topic for last. Mod Pip, as they're popularly called, is undoubtedly the most enigmatic and mysterious figure, not only in the Hell Park fandom, but in the entire South Park fandom. Mod Pip was a very anonymous person during their long internet stay. Not much is known about their personal life, but they knew Wire for many years before Hell Park's creation and helped with many of their other projects. Wire and Pip were very close friends, and when one decided to leave, the other left with them. Currently, Mod Pip is off social media and can only be seen chatting with close friends on Discord servers. However, what's truly disturbing and interesting is that Mod Pip is heavily connected to controversies. Multiple user testimonies exist about their rude and sometimes even cutting attitude, coupled with various accusations of grooming attempts and other undesirable practices on Discord. Ulteries attempted to debunk these accusations in her time, and whilst these stopped for the rest of the staff, Mod Pip remains surrounded by controversy to this day.
The Imp families. In the universe of Hell Park, Tweak died before he was ever born, the victim of a car accident. His parents, who in the show are portrayed as drug traffickers and, broadly speaking, rather unpleasant people, ended up in hell. It's never fully explained why Tweak himself wound up there too, given that he's supposed to be innocent. Many fans simply chalk it up to a plot hole. Others, however, offer a tidier explanation. Because Tweek was still in his mother's womb at the time, he was carried down to hell alongside her and was born there instead, going on, against all odds, to live a surprisingly comfortable life as an imp. The character's true heights. This one is mercifully easy to explain. The image on screen shows a chart measuring all of the principal characters against one another, with Pocket standing as the tallest of the cast and Clyde, fittingly as the shortest. A small detail, but the sort of thing fans love to pore over. Medusa and Bibi. Bibi begins Hell Park's story as an ordinary human girl. Owing to an oversight on the part of Red MacArthur, one that was never properly detailed, her body undergoes a transformation, developing the ability to turn people to stone with nothing more than a glance. It's a clear nod to Medusa of Greek mythology. Precisely what role she would have gone on to play in the wider story remains unknown. Les Miserables. Victor Hugo's novel Les Miserables was a major source of inspiration for Matt and Trey during the making of South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. The characters Gregory and Christopher are lifted directly from that work, which is precisely why, when Hell Park reintroduced the pair, it drew so heavily on the same literary source for their development. I won't dwell too much on spoilers. I genuinely recommend reading the novel for yourself, but it's quite obvious from the images on screen that Gregory's final design was very nearly traced from the stage musical adaptation. Thomas's suicide. Disclaimer: if you are sensitive to topics of suicide, violence, or related subject matter, please feel free to skip ahead to the next entry. Thomas's suicide is, without question, the single most significant change ever made to Hell Park's lore. Following his parents' divorce, something the show itself addresses, Thomas began to sink into a deep depressive episode. In this reality, because Tweek never arrives in South Park, the Asian girls ship Thomas with Craig rather than Tweek, heaping yet more pressure onto a character far less beloved within the town than Tweek ever was. His depression ultimately led him to take his own life 2 years before the story begins, and his death turned Craig into a withdrawn, apathetic figure, permanently fracturing his group of friends. Very little is known about the specifics, as the subject was meant to be explored in far greater depth in the cancelled animation Life and Dead, which would have followed Craig and Thomas as they descended into hell to confront Thomas's deepest fear, and later, the Mgalmgal. Who or what is the Mgalmgal? We'll get to that. Whimpering audios. Across 2023 and 2024, a particularly distasteful trend emerged. Videos depicting Hell Park characters making suggestive, erotic noises. This fad cropped up across countless fandoms, but Hell Park was hit especially hard by it. To slip these clearly inappropriate videos past the algorithm, those uploading them would mask the moans beneath layers of music and label them whimpers, allowing YouTube systems to overlook them entirely. Thankfully, the fandom rallied together to have them taken down, and despite the bad behavior of a stubborn handful of users, the practice is virtually extinct as of the making of this video. New Hell. For a very long time, hell in the world of Hell Park was a place of pure torment and misery. That changed when Damien seized control of it and, with the help of his boyfriend Pip, reformed hell into a place of therapy and redemption. Picture Charlie's ideal hell from Hazbin Hotel, only transplanted into South Park. That's essentially the new hell that Damien established. Throughout the story, however, this new hell hangs by a thread, owing to the constant tension with those who still cling to the old infernal philosophy. Miss Havisham was meant to exploit this very crisis, though precisely why, and exactly how, remains a mystery to this day. Drool Brothers is real. Drool Brothers was a fictional band within the Hell Park universe, whose logo could be spotted on various garments and buildings throughout the story. Curiously, though, a band by that name genuinely exists in the real world, although I couldn't turn up a single source confirming any actual connection to the fanfic. Crane said thank you. Here's a genuinely warm one, and we could all use it this far down. The animation known as The Bridge takes both its title and its music from the band Cranes. Now, plenty of fan projects borrow a song and quietly hope nobody important notices, but in this case, the band themselves did notice, and left a comment on the video thanking the creators and remarking on the positive impact it had had on their own audience. In a fandom this fraught, that tiny exchange, a real band, blessing a South Park fan animation, is one of the purest, least complicated good things in the entire Hell Park story. Hold on to it. We're about to meet the goodwill. The 2023 resurgence. Throughout 2023, South Park enjoyed an enormous surge in popularity. This drew a wave of content creators back to discussing the show, and with it, many of them rediscovered the fanfic. Several TikToks managed to shift public opinion firmly in Hell Park's favor after it had spent years being branded problematic following its cancellation. All of this culminated in the single biggest popularity boom the fanfic had ever seen since production first began back in 2019. It 2.1 million reads. It's easy to talk about Hell Park as an English language phenomenon and forget that its single most read incarnation might not be in English at all. A Spanish translation hosted on Wattpad by a translator known as Nibiru Star climbed past 2.1 million reads, a number that dwarfs the reach of plenty of the original posts. For an enormous swathe of the fandom, that translation wasn't a supplement to Hell Park. It was Hell Park, the version they read, quoted, and fell in love with. It's a quiet reminder that in fan spaces, translators aren't a footnote. They're often the reason a story has a second country to live in at all. Peaks. Peaks was a Spanish-speaking content creator who devoted a great deal of his time online to discussing Hell Park and debunking the various allegations leveled against the fanfic. Sadly, he has since retired, though he still dips into the fandom from time to time and is, in fact, the editor of this very video. So if his style felt familiar to you, that's because he was kind enough to lend us a hand. His channel is wonderfully varied and full of genuinely good content. If you speak Spanish, he is absolutely worth a watch. NSFW. One of the great banes of any fandom is NSFW art. There's little point laboring the obvious. Everyone knows that anything popular will inevitably attract it. What fewer people know about Hell Park, however, is that its creator, known during Hell Park as Wire, though you may know her earlier alias Chicken Stab, or her current one, Creature Feaster, was accused on multiple occasions of producing adult artwork, or of planning +18 romantic scenes within the fanfic itself. This, though, should be taken with a generous pinch of salt, as no evidence exists beyond testimony. What was verifiably true, on the other hand, is that ModPip shared +18 Hell Park content and liked a great deal of it on social media. Whilst this was done behind closed doors, the fact that someone so closely tied to the project engaged with such material has raised more than a few eyebrows. Dream Theory. The very last official scrap of Hell Park content wasn't a grand finale or a farewell. It was a tiny, almost throwaway AU called Tweaks Here. And from that fragment, the fandom grew one of its tittiest and gentlest theories, that the entire nightmare of Hell Park, the demons, the deaths, the descent into hell itself, was never real, but a dream in Tweak's head, dissolving the moment he wakes into an ordinary world. It's the classic, it was all a dream, usually a cheap trick, but here it lands differently. Because after everything this story puts its characters through, there's a strange mercy in imagining that none of it happened at all, and that somewhere, Tweak simply opened his eyes. The Purgatory Theory. A far darker reading runs in the opposite direction. The Purgatory Theory proposes that everyone in Hell Park, not just the demons, but the humans too, is already dead. That the entire town is trapped in a loop of purgatory, condemned to relive their suffering over and over until they finally repent for their sins and forgive one another. What makes this one stick is how neatly it fits the story's own DNA. Hell Park is, at its core, obsessed with redemption, with trauma, with characters who cannot move forward until they let something go. The theory simply takes that theme and makes it literal, suggesting the whole world is a waiting room and the only exit is grace. The Bad Trip. And then the simplest theory of them all, the one that quietly dismantles the entire story. What if none of it is real? What if Hell Park is nothing more than one collective, catastrophic drug trip, conjured by the marijuana the boys smoked in the very first scene, right before they ever touched that Ouija board? Every demon, every death, every descent, just the shared hallucination of a handful of high teenagers who never actually opened a portal to anything. It's reductive, sure, but it's also the kind of theory that's almost impossible to fully disprove, and there's a bleak little irony in the idea that the most beloved horror AU in South Park history might, in the end, just be a bad high. Wire's shared continuity. Wire, the original creator of Hell Park, has been involved in numerous works throughout her time online, the most famous being Hell Park, followed by Clyde's Ballapalooza Extravaganza and Color Quest. There are other AUs of hers besides, such as Sun Valley. The theory of Wire's shared continuity is, in essence, this fandom's equivalent of the Pixar theory, an attempt to thread all of these separate works into a single, consistent timeline. The continuity runs roughly as follows. It all begins when the creator of Color brings every possible universe into being. But in that act of infinite love, the creator of Color is forced to excise a malignant tumor from his own body, that tumor being the Mgalmgal. The beast tumbles down to Earth, and it is there that the creator of Color fills the world with life, the better to counter this evil and let love flourish across the planet. From here, the timelines diverge considerably. There is the world of Color Quest, which unfolds at the same time as Hell Park, but in a different corner of the United States. Clyde's Ballapalooza Extravaganza is simply the tale of Clyde and his adventures around South Park, while Sun Valley is the alternate reality in which no one died and South Park's world carried on exactly as nature intended. Hell Park, however, is the timeline where everything goes wrong, where Tweak dies, Gregory falls into the Grand Canyon, and the hatred festering in human hearts awakens the beast known as the Mgalmgal. In a sense, Hell Park depicts the cruelest reality of them all, the worst possible ending for every single character, a profoundly dark and despairing world whose inhabitants are condemned to live the very worst of all possible lives. It's an admittedly bleak theory once you account for this timeline, but don't fret, because it has never been confirmed by Wire, and I rather doubt it ever will be. The 60% you were never meant to see. Here's a figure that reframes everything. It's estimated that around 60% of Hell Park's planned narrative actually exists. You just weren't supposed to find it. Rather than being deleted, huge amounts of unfinished animatics, rough sketches, and half-rendered scenes were uploaded to YouTube as unlisted videos, invisible to search, invisible to the channel page, reachable only if you had the exact link, usually buried inside a specific playlist. What that means is staggering. Most of the story we mourn as lost was never truly lost at all. It's been sitting on a public platform this whole time, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone patient enough to dig up the right playlist. A good chunk of the fandom's archival heroics has been exactly that, not recovering deleted media, but locating media that was only ever one dead link away from disappearing for good. The true ending never existed. What if I told you that a true ending for Hell Park never actually existed? Well, technically, if you count supernatural encounters, there is one, though its canonicity is hotly disputed, given that it was written by Russian mods after the cancellation. In reality, Wire had a great many endings in mind for Hell Park. Some involve a climactic battle against Pocket, others focus far more on Craig and Thomas. So, strictly speaking, there is no single true ending for Hell Park. There are several, far too many to list here. If you'd like me to make a video running through them all, do let me know by leaving a comment and subscribing to the channel. Fans finished it themselves. When Wire walked away, the story didn't stop. The fandom simply picked up the pen. Two unofficial continuations rose above the rest. The first, Inner Demons, is admired to the point that some fans argue its artwork actually surpasses the original, no small claim for a project defined by its visuals. The second, Hell Park Reincarnated, earned its own devoted following. And there's something quietly profound in that, an abandoned story that generated enough love to keep being written by people who were never paid, never credited by the original team, and never guaranteed an audience. Hell Park was cancelled. The impulse behind it clearly wasn't. Estella is evil. I really do think many of us overlook just how genuinely vile this person is within the world of Hell Park. Granted, in both the novelization and the comic, Estella behaves as she does because she is subjugated by her mother, but none of that excuses the fact that she repeatedly manipulates both her allies and her enemies. Estella was perfectly willing to leave Thomas to die alone in the middle of nowhere, and she would have done exactly that were it not for Gregory's insistence. All of the demons, with the exception of Tweak and Thomas, are wicked, but only up to a point. Even Gregory shows real sympathy towards various humans and towards his allies throughout the story. Estella, by contrast, never once stops to consider anyone else. She wants only to press straight on with the mission, securing her revenge. I'm aware that her redemption arc was planned, with Leslie introducing her to a freer life, a freedom without cruelty. But because the story was canceled so early, most readers only ever got to see the darker, colder, more calculating side of Estella Havisham. And if she was like that, I shudder to imagine what Miss Havisham herself would have been like had the story continued. Pillows. To soften the entries a little, here's a gentler one. There are several Hell Park character pillows available to buy. They're rather popular and, on the whole, not at all difficult to find. Grooming allegations against Maud Pip and Wire. Once again, a disclaimer, as we're about to discuss something deeply sensitive and something on which, frankly, I cannot offer any fully certain verdict regarding the truth of the accusations. Consider yourselves warned. Maud Pip and Wire have, from the very beginning of their online presence, often been perceived as curt, intensely private people who keep themselves to themselves. This has led many online to speculate about what might lie behind that curtain of reticence. There is a video online known as Exposing Wire/Chicken Stab, in which a user recounts how she was groomed by the creator of Hell Park, offering up a number of examples of how, she says, this was done in deeply unpleasant ways. All of her evidence comes in the form of Discord screenshots, but honestly, some of it looks rather difficult to fabricate. The video has barely any views for something a year old, yet it stands as a testament to something rather dark within the fandom. Combine this with the multiple accusations against Maud Pip, and it leads me to pose the following question. Was Hell Park cancelled out of fear that these two creators would be exposed? Bear in mind that there was a lengthy hiatus prior to Hell Park's cancellation, and that throughout that period there were grooming accusations directed at these two individuals, serious accusations. Seemingly out of nowhere, the entire fandom turned against the fanfic across 2021 and 2022. What if they were actually right? What if this video proves that Wire really is a deeply unpleasant person and that she has done this before? I sincerely hope that isn't the case. But I'll limit myself to simply reporting what happened. I am keeping my own opinion on the matter entirely to myself. Harassment within the fandom. This one can be readily confirmed by anyone who has spent time in the Hell Park fandom. The fandom, combined with the notoriously toxic South Park community at large, tends to be a breeding ground for arguments and extreme abuse. Every single person I've spoken to within this fandom has at least one bad experience with another user. The problem of toxicity is so pronounced that people have compiled entire lists of problematic figures within the community. Here's the thing. The fandom is enormous, and the story, flaws, and all kindles an extraordinary passion in everyone who reads it, for better and for worse. We all come away with at least one strong emotion, and the story runs surprisingly deep for a fanfic. Its animations moved us, its art style captivated us. That stirs up a great deal of passion and a great deal of fervor, and the majority of people in the fandom are no older than 16. Together, it makes for the perfect breeding ground for extreme toxicity. My recommendation, as almost always, is to steer well clear of Discord. The Gregory recast. Most of the controversies swirling around Hell Park rest on rumor and little else. This one sits on noticeably firmer ground. At some point during the project, Gregory's original voice actor was quietly replaced. The rumor attached to that recast is that it followed the actor interacting with artists who drew inappropriate content, and here's what separates this from the fandom's usual noise. The replacement demonstrably happened. We can see, plainly, that the voice changed. When almost every other allegation in this fandom dissolves the moment you ask for evidence, a claim anchored to something visibly, verifiably real carries a weight the others simply don't. I'll leave the interpretation to you, but of all the whispers down here, this is the one with an undeniable fact sitting underneath it. He's CECEBERG's theory. Running quietly alongside the official account of harassment and burnout is a competing whisper, a rival explanation for why Hell Park really died. This one claims the true killer was a cease and desist order from South Park's owners, spooked by just how enormous the AU had grown. It's worth being clear, this directly contradicts the documented reasons the creators themselves gave. But it survives anyway, because Hell Park's cancellation has become one of those events the fandom can't stop relitigating, a death with so many proposed causes that people keep inventing new ones. Harassment, exhaustion, legal threats, something darker still. The unsettling truth is that a community this fractured may simply never agree on how its most important story actually ended. The Matt and Trey conspiracy. Now we're getting into properly paranoid waters. One fringe theory holds that Matt Stone and Trey Parker, the actual creators of South Park, secretly funded Hell Park. The supposed motive, a covert marketing play, engineered to pull the shipping and fanfic crowd back toward the official show by feeding them exactly the kind of dark, character-driven material the canon never provides. There is, needless to say, not a shred of evidence for this. But it belongs down here regardless, because it captures something true about fandom psychology. When a fan work becomes too big, too polished, too influential, a certain kind of fan simply can't accept that amateurs did it for free. There has to be a hidden hand. There has to be a conspiracy. There almost never is. Damien sent Pip to hell. This one is real. Damien, Pip's husband, sent the person he loved most to hell. And he did it out of pure selfishness. Damien couldn't bear a life without the only person who had ever truly loved him, so he used all of his influence in the afterlife to deny Pip entry into heaven. This revelation was intended to shatter the trust between Damien and Pip, a perfect Chekhov's gun that would force Damien, for the very first time, to open up to his husband. Don't believe this was meant to happen? That's understandable. After all, every official document on the story lists Pip's fall into hell as a mere accident. But what if I told you that isn't actually the case? In the Spanish translation of Hell Park, you can read, without any censorship or redaction whatsoever, how the creators explicitly planned for Damien to send Pip to hell. This, however, was changed at the very last minute owing to an enormous backlash from the other mods against the idea, and every record of it having been planned was erased or altered, with the sole exception of the translations. The Infection from Hell. The Infection from Hell was a cancelled story that would have chronicled how an unknown virus from hell crosses over into the human race. It was set to be an altered retelling of the events of Hell Park, reframed entirely as a zombie apocalypse. Sadly, not so much as a single storyboard was ever produced for it, and it remains one of the strangest and darkest of all Hell Park's alternate universes. Alterize. Alterize was an English-speaking creator who enjoyed immense popularity throughout 2023. You've likely already seen a good number of her videos, and her impact on the fandom is well worth noting. She shaped an entire generation of Hell Park fans and is among the most devoted to the work of anyone out there. Thanks to her, we obtained and recovered a great deal of lost media that would otherwise have been all but impossible for many of us to access. That said, she is also credited with a number of the problems the fandom still grapples with to this day. Alterize was accused on several occasions of over-defending, or even outright justifying, much of Mod Pip's conduct in her videos and of downplaying the accusations made against Wire. Whilst the now-deleted video in which she rebuts most of the allegations against Wire was generally well-received, there are certainly moments that raise an eyebrow or two. During her defense of Wire concerning the accusation regarding Kyle's Judaism, Alterize portrayed the community in a somewhat disrespectful manner and, moreover, stated incorrect information about the religion, claiming, for instance, that Jews are governed by the Talmud, which she referred to as the Jewish Bible. This stirred up a degree of controversy at the time, Though it's frankly understandable that someone whose aim was simply to defend Hell Park hadn't researched a fairly secondary topic in great depth. The second issue was her complete glossing over of the many instances of Mod Pip behaving rudely towards fans of the work, dismissing it all as simply the way he is, which doesn't hold up especially well in light of the multiple accusations made beforehand. The third was her failure to address at all the genuinely unpleasant decisions Mod Tai made during his time on Hell Park's development, things like making Ferkel, who is 16 within the story, the moderator of a forum dedicated to gore and +18 content. Among other questionable choices, Mod Tai bears much of the blame for so abruptly altering the story's direction. Many have pointed out that if Ultreize truly wanted to present Hell Park in a balanced light, she ought to have shown the other side of the coin as well. Finally, there is the complete silence surrounding the accusations against Wire. Ultreize sidestepped the subject of Wire entirely, which, once again, raised more than a few eyebrows. I've no desire to turn this channel into a hotbed of drama, so I'll leave it there. Please don't falsely accuse anyone of anything. I raise these points only to illustrate a serious problem within the fandom: toxicity. Rather than perpetuating this cycle, regardless of who ultimately holds the truth in this matter, the far healthier path is simply to get on with our lives. Both Ultreize and Wire are far removed from the fandom now, and if they really do have their hands in something unsavory, justice will come in its own time. Our job is simply to separate the art from the artist and to enjoy the work. This is the last I'll say of Wire in this iceberg, and I hope that, with that, the case can be considered closed. We Need Them. We Need Them was an alternate reality game that was never finished, of which we have only this single surviving video.
We made it. 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 We made it.
The video centers on a creepypasta about a user reading Hell Park on Tumblr when one of the panels unexpectedly depicts Pip in a bloodied, brutalized state. The ARG was never deciphered, and I haven't managed to track down the channel that originally uploaded it. Various testimonies, however, attest that this genuinely was an ARG that was simply never brought to completion. Honestly, I haven't the faintest idea what this video might mean. My only working hypothesis is that it was meant to promote the infection from Hell, given that the ARG surfaced at around the same time. Also, credit to Peaks for providing me with the original video. Supernatural Encounters: The Journey, Trial, and Execution of Kevin Stoley. Supernatural Encounters is, without a shadow of a doubt, the most bizarre, magnificent, and disturbingly beautiful story in the entire Hell Park universe. It's a full, head-to-toe novelization of the whole story, written by a pair of Russian mods following Hell Park's cancellation. Essentially, back during Hell Park's earliest days, Wire and a team dedicated to translating Hell Park into Russian gained access to a handful of sketches of Kevin Stoley in a spacesuit, along with some small doodles of something Wire had christened them Galmgal. Working from this, and from Wire's notes on one of the endings she'd devised for Hell Park, the Russian team wrote a novelization of the story, which was then expanded considerably after the cancellation. This story explores some genuinely dark and abstract themes that were, sadly, discarded in the West. For example, and I'm not joking, Craig Tucker travels through time to a reality where all is lost, meets a cosmic space turtle who tells him that love is the answer, and ends up facing off against a Babylonian beast called the Galmgal. Yes, it's a rather strange story. But even in its strangeness, it's a cornerstone of the Slavic fandom, and it inspired both me and a group of others to make the Hell Park video game, which takes the tale told in this very novel as its foundation. The original story ends with Kevin traveling through an alternate reality where he meets God, who reveals to him that Hell Park is, in fact, but one of many timelines, dropping hints that South Park and all of its fanfics are canon within this larger universe, and that everything has happened in one timeline or another. So Hell Park, Mirai Park, South Park, West Park, Dead Park, and all those AUs we know and love are canonical across alternate timelines. The tragic part, however, is that according to this story, in reality number 2910, where the events of the original Hell Park comic take place, everything ended up destroyed and broken at the hands of the Galmgal. Well then, this is the final entry, the bottom of the iceberg, the darkest and most obscure corner of this entire lore. What could possibly be waiting down here? What could be more unknown, more shadowy, than everything we've already laid eyes on? God. God in Hell Park was ignored across many iterations of the story, out of fear of stirring up controversy. The original story works perfectly well without a figure like God, but what if I told you that God did, in fact, exist within Hell Park? It's true. Not only was it a discarded concept, his involvement was to have been absolutely crucial to the story's development, and he is, indirectly, responsible for everything that unfolds in Hell Park. God, in the Hell Park universe, was known as the Creator, or the Creator of Color. Upon creating the earth, and being a being made wholly of love, he was forced to excise the evil from his own being, separating all that was good from all that was wicked. This tumor of malice came to be known as the Galmgal, a magnificent yet repugnant being that was cast into the depths of the earth and sealed away. But God could not kill it, for a being like it was as eternal as God himself. Only a love that was not eternal, fragile, fleeting, human love could ever hope to stop it. And so the Galmgal lay dormant, generation after generation, buried directly beneath what would one day become South Park. According to the Hell Park novelization, the Galmgal's presence beneath the town is the very thing responsible for the show's signature madness and for so much of its violence. Want to know why all the AUs get cancelled? Mirai Park, Dead Park, the 1800s AU, Orphanage Park, Silent Park, SP The End, Expiravit Park, Revenge Park, Reconnect SP, Crime Park, Liar Liar, even the very Hell Park comic we all know and love. Every one of those stories ends the same way. Once the AU comes to an end, for one reason or another, the Galmgal awakens and the whole of humanity is enslaved. It's extraordinarily dark, especially if you're a die-hard fan of South Park's AUs, to imagine the grim fate awaiting every single timeline, since in all of them the cosmic tumor stirs and the characters meet their end. Obviously, it isn't canon. Each fanfic was cancelled for its own separate reasons. But that doesn't make it any less profoundly unsettling, fitting, perhaps, that it should be the deepest entry in the entire iceberg. And that brings us, at last, to the very bottom. Thank you so much for watching all the way through, for lending me your time and your curiosity across both parts of this iceberg. Whether you're a longtime fan of Hell Park or simply a curious passerby who wandered in, I'm truly grateful you came along for the descent. Take care of yourselves out there, and I'll see you in the next one. That's the whole iceberg logged and filed. Every secret, every rumor, every cosmic tumor sleeping under a cartoon mountain town. Tell me which entry keeps you up at night down in the comments, and subscribe so I can keep digging. I always find something.